Okay, I've been really busy. And some people were saying that they prefer it when I do these like short videos, just like short updates. So I'll show you what I've been working on. So I have been, I made this new export dialog a while back, and I made it so that you can export as WAV or WAVPAC, which are audio file formats. So this is basically just a new interface for the exporting. And then I have this like grayed out option on the menu, which I just accidentally clicked away from. So I'm gonna have to go back to where is it? Let me ungray it out. This one. So I accidentally disabled it again because of version control things. Anyway, so the idea is that you should be able to save blocks and other things, but primarily blocks in some kind of non-destructive object format. So it's just going to save, it's using exactly the same format that it uses internally when, for example, when you delete an object, it needs to stay in memory in a specific format so that when you press like Control Z to undo the deletion, it can just bring it back. So it exists in memory in a certain format, and then that same format I have this whole system for like serializing it to JSON and then decoding a JSON file back into that format. So I'm using exactly the same thing to make it so that you can now export block files, and I just got this working like 5 minutes ago. So if I just export this block, then it will export, yeah. And it went to here, so there we go. And you'll notice it's a .blocked file, which is the same as the project format, and it is actually exactly the same format as the project file, which is basically just a renamed zip file. And it noticed that there was the block that I exported had a dependency on some sample data, so it dumped it into the samples directory, just like it does when you save a project. And then it generated this layout, and this is exactly the same format as a project file. But that's not the one. That's VS Code being silly. So this is the one that I just exported. So the idea, so I have no way to import these files yet. That's what I'm going to be working on next. But the idea is that this is just like a Blockhead project file, but a block object file is just going to be a project file that doesn't have any workspaces. So this, normally if you were to export a project file, all of these like JSON dictionaries would have stuff in them. But this is a project which has no workspaces, and it has one block. So I'm going to just write the code so that if you try to open a project, one of these .blockhead files, and it doesn't contain any workspaces, but it contains exactly one block definition, which is what this stuff is. This is just that sample block. This is like the envelope data that I put in. So if it contains exactly one block definition, then it will go, okay, this is a block file, and it will import it as a block. So you'll get the block back, and it will recognize that it has the sample data in the zip file as well. So it will load the sample data out, and yeah, should be fine. Yeah, should be good. Yeah. And then there's other things which I'm going to allow you to export as object files simply because it would be too awkward to not. It would be too awkward UI wise to not allow you to do it, because for example, you can, the way that the export dialog works is you can drag the workspace to the right and then export it as a WAV, and you can drag individual track stems, for example. But then the way I've set this up is that you can like go down here and say export all of these things as an object file. So at the moment, the only thing I've implemented is this one, the block. But I have like all of these stubs in the code for exporting things as object files. So the one that I just implemented, which was pretty easy because I just used the same code as what I used for saving projects. It's this one basically. So these are all the things that you can export. So you can export a block as audio, or you export a block as an object, or sample as audio, or sample as an object. I don't know what that's going to be. I guess I would generate a sampler block containing the sample. That's what that would be. And then this is a track stem. The track is on audio, and then track object, I guess it would be again the project format, but it contains nothing but one track. And then I would allow you to import a track somehow. So you'll be able to like export a track non-destructively with all of the contents of the track, and then you'll be able to import it. And then same with the workspace. So it's partly the reason I'm going to allow that is because if I don't allow it, it just introduces like UI inconsistencies with the export dialog. I would have to like start throwing up messages saying, hey, you're trying to export a track as an object and that's not supported, blah blah blah. And the other thing is there's no good technical reason not to support it, because it should be pretty easy to implement because of the way that I've designed things sort of modularly and the implementation is mostly like, for example, exporting a block non-destructively as an object. It was basically just, I mean, I had to refactor things a little bit, but it was just a case of calling this function, which I already had, because it's the function that saves the project, basically. I have this like immutable data structure containing the entire project state that I want to save, and I just call this function save objects, and it saves it into that zip file. So I'm just using exactly the same code to save the block alone. Yes, so I have all of these these stub functions here, like exporting a sample as an object is not yet implemented. Track and then workspace. Yeah, the only weird one I think is the sample, because what does it mean to export a sample as an object file? I guess it just means that on the fly I would generate a sampler block with the classic sampler enabled, and or the default sampler. I think that makes sense. I don't know. Any suggestions? All right, bye-bye.